Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Tonight, I have a special guest with me back on the show. I have Matt Sotelo of Decrepit Birth. Welcome back to the show, Matt.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, so Matt, first of all, it was great meeting you in Hartford on your tour. So how did that whole tour go for you guys?
It went really good. We had a really fun tour. You know that we hadn't been on tour for a while, so that was our first tour in like 3 years or something like that. And it wasn't a super long tour, but man, we had a great time. All the bands killed it, so it was good. It was really good.
And you had Gabe playing on drums for you guys during the tour too. So how did that all work out?
Excellent. We got a lot of practice in before this tour. Everything went super smooth. Gabe totally killed it. It was a little different for us because this was the first tour we had gone out where it was just me doing guitars, and I had some backing track guitars, rhythm guitar parts going. So it was a little different. But other than that, that went pretty much smoothly. Actually, the only time that we had an issue with any of that stuff is the night that I think you saw us in Hartford. I think I was having problems with my solo tone or something like that. It wasn't switching. It was like that was the only bad error night that there was. Other than that, every night was great, and that wasn't even a huge deal. I think I figured it out while I was on stage, but that kind of like threw me off.
That show was kind of insane. So you guys are playing, all right, the little dinky room or whatever there, right? But it's packed in there like freaking sardines. Yeah. There's like no such thing as security in there. And when you guys were playing, because I was like, there's like the little bar area on the side, so I was kind of safe. There's like this weird little window, and I'm like, okay, I'm in a safe little spot. But when you guys played Crystal Mountain, and everybody went freaking berserk and started jumping on stage and everything, now is that what you experienced every night, Matt?
I mean, a lot of nights. I mean, with that song, it's a magical song. And, we try and really build people up. We end with that song, or at least on this last tour we did, and we've played it before in the past. And people always seem to really go crazy like that with it, and we appreciate it. We invite them to. We're not the type of band that's like, don't come on stage with us, stay back.
My God.
We're not, and I understand why some bands do that, and I think I've talked about this before in the past, but, it's so fun to me when I see a stage full of fans, jump up on stage and sing the song with us because they know the words or whatever it is. That's just, I don't know, I have a lot of fun with that, and that's why I do this. That's why I play this music, is just for those reasons, is just to see the fans get into it like that, and that's the number one reason why I do it. So I love it when the fans, they can't control themselves. They're like, "Fuck it, I'm just going to jump up on stage and be a part of it." I love it.
And they did. I couldn't believe it. And the funny thing was, like, security. I mean, I know you guys love it, but security usually hates that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they didn't even budge.
We make them do their job. We put them to work.
I know. I was like, oh no, here we go. But not this show. I'm like, this show, security was like sitting next to me in the fucking bar watching. I was like, oh, I guess, and I was getting nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I hope somebody doesn't like back into Gabe's shit and fall and all that crap. But he was pretty safe back there. Actually, they were all over you guys up front, But that was it was so much fun. And like you said, you closed that out, and everybody,
Yeah, well, at first, they told us we were going to be playing the smaller stage. And my first reaction was, we don't get to play with the rest of the package on the bigger stage. But then I went in there and kind of saw the stage, and I was like, you know what? We're going to make the most of it. And it's going to be packed in here with a lot of bodies, hopefully, and we'll give it our all. And that's exactly what we did. And I think it went decently, other than, like I said, I had a couple of small technical difficulties. But other than that, the performance-wise, we had a lot of fun. So
nobody noticed that at all except for you. Because everybody was just so excited. It was so packed. It was just, it was a really, really good time. So, I mean,
awesome.
and
I had a good time.
So, I mean, the rest of the tour went okay? You didn't have any trouble, no breakdowns?
No, it was smooth as hell. I mean, I had a little trouble in Texas as far as...
we read that.
Yeah, as far as the greenery goes. We got stopped, and I had a little bit of weed on me, and whatever, I accepted it, and they basically took our weed and let us go, and it wasn't that big of a deal.
You're lucky. That's all they did.
Very much with me, and it's just one of those things. We're on tour. It's recreational. It's no big deal. I didn't have a huge amount, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
They let us go, so they could have been a lot worse. They understood. I think people are coming around to the idea and that it's going to be legal in a lot more states in the future. So I think people are starting to understand it more and more, hopefully.
It seemed like it because I was like, oh my God, those guys are so lucky. That would have sucked so bad. But it was just like, just like a minor little thing. And then off you went again. It was...
Right. Yep. That's it. I mean, it's scary, when they pull you over and they pull you in and, you have weed. And to me, my thing is I'm not trying to smuggle. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I just was honest. I'm like, look, we're musicians on tour. Obviously, we're traveling town to town, and we have a little bit of smoke with us. Here's what I have. And that's what I did. And I think they appreciate the honesty, and I recommend that for any band if they ever get stopped and they have something. Just be honest. Don't try and hide it or whatever. Just because they'll catch you. It's not worth it. So.
Well, it worked out okay for you guys, and if that was the only incident you had on this whole tour...
Other than that, no, it was great. We had I hadn't had such a fun tour, really, for a long time. It was really what we needed. And it was cool because we ended the tour a little bit early. We dropped off in our hometown because I had some personal things I had to do, and I told them when we booked the tour that we would have to end the tour when I get to Santa Cruz, which is where I live. Mm-hmm. And that last show in Santa Cruz was absolutely amazing. It was just so cool. It was my hometown. Everybody came out. It was just positive. Really, all the bands really killed it, and it was a packed house and just. I don't know, a lot of fun, and that doesn't usually. I'm not used to that in my hometown. Usually, the shows aren't that great here, so that's cool.
Well, it's a good way to end off a tour, then.
Definitely, awesome way.
Okay, so Matt, your last release was Polarity back in 2010 already. Yeah. And since releasing that, you picked up 2 new members, being Samus on drums and Sean on bass. Now, of course, they don't seem new to us, you know, but really the new album is the first Decrepit Birth album both of those guys have been on. So what did those guys contribute as far as a writing process go, and having the 2 of them in the band? Did it change any of the dynamics at all or anything?
I mean, it definitely changed things having both of those guys. Sean is, he's a proper bass player. I mean, he's very creative, and we've never really had a bass player who was quite as creative as him with his bass lines and stuff. And I think people will hear that when they listen to the album. So he contributed a lot to, his instrument. And like, if it was me, I've recorded bass on our albums in the past, I would do not what he did. I'm more of a guitar player. I don't think like a bass player, so I'd keep it more simple. So I'm stoked that he was able to add like a whole nother layer, a whole nother element, rather than just following along at all times with what I was doing. So that's cool, and I really appreciate that from Sean. And with Samus, he's really helped huge with the arrangements of the music. I wrote the songs. There'd be like an original version, and I'd submit it to him, and he would listen to it, and he would kind of edit, the riffs and change things around and say, look, let's repeat this riff a little better, a little more, because it's a good riff and it needs to breathe. It needs to, I'll double it up, and we'll change the structure to be a little bit more, a little bit more of a formula, and not to say it's like some sort of pop formula, but just a little bit more simplistic than what we've done in the past, rather than such a jazzy way of looking at everything, and like we've done in the past, where it's just riff. It's a different thing this time. So. I'm happy about that. I'm really, I think the songs are more cohesive, and they have like a good flow to them, but also, definitely heavier than in the, well, at least the last couple of records. So I like that too. So it's a little more brutal, a little more ballsy, heavier, and more simplistic, which I think will be effective live. And I've already seen that it has been more effective live, because on this last tour, we played, three new songs, and I think people had never heard these songs, yet they responded very well to them. It was like they knew them already, even though they'd never heard them before. So they were moshing to them, really getting into the new songs, and so I think they're going to go. The new songs should go over well. So live.
And now you guys are pretty spread out all over the USA and Canada too. So how long did it take to write all of this with you guys all over the place?
Well, I know, the long time, the wait, the 7 years, people ask us, and I've said this in the past, we toured for the first couple of years after Polarity came out, 4 years it took for us to do our touring cycle. And then in that time, we had started writing some of these new songs, and we were changing things around and kind of scrapping things. But it wasn't until about 2013 that we really started, getting the songs together for the new album. So, and then we finished writing the album in 2015. So I'd say it took about 2.5 years from when we actually started the songs that are on the album to the finish of writing them. It took about 2.5 years. And then we recorded. The recording took a long time. The mixing took a long time. We submitted the album to Nuclear Blast quite a while ago, so the release is just taking everything is taking a long time. And it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just out of my control. There's just nothing I can do about that. Time just kind of got away on me on a lot of things, and here it is, 2017, 7 years later, and we have the new album. Yeah, it's crazy. I know it's crazy. It doesn't seem that long to me, even though it is. I know it's a long time. It just doesn't seem like it took that long, but I don't know. I don't think it'll take it that long for the next album either.
So now, do you write the lyrics too?
No, that's all Bill. I mean, I've contributed a little bit in the past, here and there, but as far as the new album, it's all Bill. So he's the lyricist, and he has all the concepts in his head of what he wants, and I know, Axis Mundi means, basically, it's kind of like a doorway from the earth to the heavens. It's kind of like a portal. And that's kind of, the songs are loosely based around that theory or concept, but there's so much more. People ask me, what are the lyrics about, and it's hard for me to explain them exactly. And, it's because it's straight from Bill's head, and it's not necessarily, people are like, are you guys talking about scientific stuff? Is it science? And I'm not some sort of science, Bill's not some sort of science major or anything like that. It's more like hallucinogenics. It's more like trips, crazy ideas and visions that he's had that he's trying to translate over to words, and that's kind of what he puts down, and that's what you get.
And that's what the album cover looks like too. So tell us a little bit about that too, Matt, about the cover and the artist, because that's pretty trippy in itself.
Well, the cover is completely Bill's idea. I mean, he knew exactly what he wanted, and everything. He had a big list for Dan Seagrave of different things he wanted. So he just gave some lyrics to Dan and then explained these different things that he wanted, for the cover, and Dan, I guess, just exactly nailed what he wanted. So, it's part, I don't know, I can't even explain it. I wish I could go into explaining it, but I recommend for anybody that comes to see us live, feel free, because Bill always sells merch for us.
Yep.
Feel free to go up to Bill and talk to Bill. He likes to talk about the concepts and the ideas and whatnot. Ask him what it's about, and tell him that, you want to know what the cover's about, or, you're interested in what this song's about. He'll tell you. So he's cool that way.
And now, also recording with this now, didn't, I was like reading the bio and stuff before this, and you like recorded it in all these different places. And so
Yeah.
how did that whole process go? And then like you guys all went up to Canada and you were actually all together for a little while. How did that all go?
Yeah, so we did. We went up to Canada to record the drums. We just ended up going up there because we felt like it'd be best to have the whole band together for at least a part of this recording. And for whatever reason, it made sense for all of us to go up there. And we rented out the big studio there, and we decided to do some studio photos and videos and that kind of shit. So it made a lot of sense for all of us to meet up there. So we did the drums there, and then once we were done, that only took like a week. And that was like way back in like summer of 2015. We got that done, and then we took all of that, the drums, and then I did my guitars, and we did vocals at my house, and we took our time, got all that done. Sean did his bass at his house, and then we took everything and we sent it off to a guy named Stefano at 16th Cellar Studios. To record, or to mix rather, for us, and he did all the mixing that's out in Italy. He did all the mixing for us, and it took a while for us to go back and forth on the mixes and get what we were satisfied with. So, it took, it was like 3 or 4 different studios that, it took to get the final product. Crazy.
And, when you guys were doing this album too, before you even, all get together and just start writing, do you go in with like, hey, we want this album to be this way and this way, or anything like that, or you just let it go with the flow?
Well, it's funny because when I first started writing for this album, like I said, like I had started writing some stuff right away, actually, right after Polarity. And I showed up. Sam was already like with us in the band, touring with us, and I showed him the material, and I said, "What do you think for a new album?" And he was like, "Dude, don't take it the wrong way." He's like, "I'm not digging it." He's like, "I think we could do something better." He's like, "I think we could do something that has a better flow, a little bit more simplistic." He's like, let's keep working on that. So I pretty much scrapped like a couple of songs, or at least one full big long song that had a lot of stuff in it, and so, and then it took a couple years before we really nailed down what we wanted to get. What we decided, let's not be quite so melodic and progressive like we were on Polarity and Diminishing. Let's do something maybe a little bit more like we were on the first album, but mixed still with what we did on the last couple albums, just not quite so much of that. Let's make it very groovy and heavy and faster too at times. So it's just, I'd say it's more of a brutal album, and we definitely decided beforehand that we wanted it to be that way, groovier, heavier, more brutal, but still have some of the cool guitar solo stuff and melodies and all that stuff. It's all in there.
And about being like the guitarist and writing all the guitar parts, when you're writing your parts, do you have to keep in mind that you got to be able to play this again live on stage?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's some really fast stuff on the new album. And it's not that I wanted it to be fast just for the sake of being fast. It's just that's the groove of the part that I don't know, it's just the way that I wrote the riff, and I'm just like, okay, it's just really quick. This whole section is really quick, and when I was writing it, it seemed awesome, but when we went to go actually start practicing and playing the song like in the studio just to get ready for tour, I was like, shit, this stuff is really fast. This is like, God, I'm pushing myself, and so yeah, you gotta think like, are you gonna be able to play all this stuff cleanly? Plus, we're the type of band that I don't like to just stand there all the time. Sometimes, I got to do my solo and I got to kind of pay attention, but we like to move around a little bit. Me and Bill like to switch spaces and I'll go in the middle and do my solos, and he kind of goes off to the side or whatever and rocks out. And So it's kind of hard when you're flying by, doing 290 beats a minute, doing super fast stuff, and trying to perform too, and it's just you got to find the fine line. And I think with the new album though, I think we found a pretty good fine line. I mean, there's some really fast tech stuff, but it doesn't, it's not just all that all the way through. It's a good, people. I keep trying to say, people like to say Decrepit Birth, is a tech death, or tech death band or technical death metal band, and yeah, maybe people can classify us that, but that to me, that's just one genre and that's just one style. Like for me, I think Decrepit Birth is death metal. We play all these different styles. I've said this before in the past, and I always like to keep pressing that fact because people still call us just the technical death metal as just we're really death metal, because I enjoy brutal death metal and old school death metal and all these different styles, and I think we like to go in and out of those different styles a lot, and you'll really hear that with the new album. And I'm not saying I don't know if it's our best album or not, but for right now with what we're doing, I think it's just where we are in our headspace, and it makes a lot of sense right now for what we're doing with the music. So I'm pretty proud of it. I like it a lot.
And now, when you had to find Bill to do this one with you guys, was it easy to find him? He wasn't off in the woods somewhere this time?
He was, of course. He always is. Like he probably is right now. But no, he's either surfing or he's up in the woods or something. Yeah, no, as long as I let him know, he knows, he puts the music as a priority, We spent a lot of time doing his vocals. I think it's a priority for him above a lot of other things in his life, that he makes sure he makes it to something like, coming down and doing vocal recordings or whatever it is, or making sure that we're preparing for tour. He puts a lot of time into the music too, so I appreciate that about Bill. It's pretty cool.
And now, while you guys were out on your little tour, because we were trying to we weren't quite sure what formats it was even being released on yet. So now I saw a little bit of the packages, because you got some vinyls and stuff going on there. So what's going on as far as the formats that it's being released on? And do you still have some pre-order stuff?
Yeah, there should be pre-orders up at both of our record labels, Agonia Records and Nuclear Blast Records, USA. I know if you go to their website or even just check out like our Facebook or their Facebook, there's pre-order links all over the place for that stuff. And I think what they're doing is they have a 2 LP, I think it's a double LP thing, vinyl, and you can order one that's like yellow and green or something, or yellow and blue, and then there's one that's like blue and green, or I can't remember the colors right now off the top of my head, but they look really cool. They're cool. The vinyl looks really awesome. And then I think Agonia Records is doing I'm not sure if theirs is a picture disc or what they're doing. They have something different. I don't think it's the same. I'm not completely sure on that, but it looks cool. Any of those vinyls, I can't wait to get. I don't have a physical copy of it yet, still myself, so I'm really excited to get it and look at it. We signed a bunch of the little CD inlet booklets that they give you. We signed a bunch of those, and so we saw that looked cool, but I still haven't seen the big LP. I'm looking forward to that.
Now, you guys recently did that tour here, right, in the USA. So, do you guys have anything else going on for this year?
We're working on that right now. We're trying to put together a tour. Things got a little bit out of whack after this tour. We were trying to figure. We were going to hop on the Summer Slaughter tour. We did get an offer for that, but it's just things with my personal life. I've got kids and it's summertime, and honestly, I gotta be here with my family for the summer. I just got off that other tour, and I'm a dad first. That's what's really important to me, and taking care of my kids and. Music, it's there, it's important, but I got to do the right thing, if that makes sense. So I got to be here for the summer, but in the fall is what we're looking forward to, hopefully. And I don't know exactly what, but we're working on it right now. So fall.
So Facebook then is still the best place for people to go to see what's going on, where you're going this fall.
Definitely, yeah. Just keep checking the Facebook. That'll tell you everything. We'll always update it with news and stuff.
All right, well, there you have it. Axis Mundi out July 21st on Nuclear Blaster Records. And Matt, as always, thank you for coming back on the show, and all the best to you and the band with the new album.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the interview.